name is Chris Eudy. I'm the owner of Third Coast Guitar Service.
This is the first, and I always forget that this is the first of the guitars. This is the Takamine.
Okay, here, let's try.
And this guitar I bought new, you know, and I paid. If you look at what they sell for now, what I paid for it, probably they sell for about $200 less than what I paid for it now.
Yeah.
And this guitar looks like animals have chewed on it.
Yeah.
This basically is from me knocking it around. This is from somebody I played with, purposefully did it. This was from a quarter that somebody threw at me when I was playing in a band that opening for Typo Negative in Albany, New York.
Oh, there you go.
Which they didn't
the
like.
guys in Typo Negative, those fans, they love acoustic.
Yeah, that's what the first thing they say. And my acoustic at the time, this is the other problem. The pickup system is horrible, and the pickup system didn't work.
Yeah.
And after the show, the guy who was the lead guitarist said, "You know what? You did two things wrong. You had an acoustic guitar first of all, and you had one that didn't work. Number two. So that's the problem." And I was just thinking. I mean, the first question I have for you is cosmetics. Is there anything you can do when you have a guitar that's beat up like this?
Okay.
To make it look a little bit better. I mean, these chunks taken out of it. And
Yeah, you know, this is a difficult cosmetic repair. You got two things that are conspiring against you. Number one, it's a cedar top. Okay, it's not spruce.
Right.
And cedar is very, very soft, and it has a tendency to discolor when you drop fill it. In other words, where the bangs and the dings are will inevitably just get darker than the rest of the finish. Even if you're using the exact same finish, it can be really difficult. That being said, we can usually make it look better. It's difficult when you have big chunks of the finish taken out because the finish, when you have to drop fill it to make it smooth to be able to spray coats over the top of it, you have to put something into it. You have to fill it up. And generally we'll use either, depending on the finish, we use a lot of what we like to call cyanoacrylate, otherwise known as crazy glue. And we use a lot of crazy glue. A lot of repair shops use a lot of crazy glue. It has a lot of similar properties to polyurethane finishes that you see on a lot of guitars. That's the second thing that's working against this guitar, is that it's a polyurethane finish. It's not a lacquer finish. Okay, and lacquer, when we say lacquer in the guitar world, we generally mean nitrocellulose lacquer,
which is the preferable.
It is a preferable guitar finish, instrument finish, and that is you can amalgamate nitrocellulose lacquer. In other words, if I drop new lacquer onto old lacquer, they actually dissolve into one another, and they make a chemical bond. They actually become the same piece of finish. Okay, on the polyurethanes, polyesters, the poly finishes. Those are usually what are called two-part finishes, and they have a paint and then a hardener. So they harden. They're real similar to like an epoxy, really, just thinner and more glossy. And those do not amalgamate. You have to. They form a mechanical bond. So when we drop fill that stuff, it doesn't really. It kind of sits on top of the old finish, and it's difficult to sand and it's difficult to blend. And actually, a third thing working against this guitar is that it's a satin finish on top of that. So it's difficult. You can't. It's very difficult to sand stuff flush.
This guitar was pretty much not made to be taken out and played.
You're absolutely correct.
And I did take it out, as you can tell. I took this guitar out and played the crap out of it.
It is. It's been played, but that's what it's for. I mean,
right. This is not a collector's piece.
In the end, it is made to be played. Every guitar. Really.
So I mean, when you come into when you talk about like fixing this, and I'm not, if it's not, I'm like, what would that, could that impact the sound of the guitar? It wouldn't have any impact on the sound.
Purely aesthetic, purely cosmetic. It's just, if it bothers, and I always say, we always say this, it's not our guitar, I understand there are a lot of things that contribute to someone's enjoyment of their instrument, and a lot of people, it's how it looks, and I understand that. We don't, I'm not playing tuba, right? We play guitar because it's cool, right? Yeah.
Well, I don't really. I'm not married to actually getting it fixed. Sure. I just was kind of, because I look at this and I was like, it was a pretty guitar before I got a hold of it.
Yeah.
And
here's the thing about it, Patrick, is we can inevitably, we can make it better. This is just a tough one to make better. Yeah. And typically what we say is like, well, how much does it bother you? Because you'll end up spending a good bit of money, and it will make it on this. It'll make it better, but it won't make it disappear. The only way to get these to disappear is to refinish the top of this guitar, and you don't want to do that. That's a very expensive.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, if this were like, maybe a Dove or a Hummingbird from the mid '60s, I might do it, but it ain't.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you wouldn't, and you know, on that guitar,
then you don't want to do
even
it
wanna
because you,
that.
yeah, because you don't
You-
want
you
to
leave
decrease the
bangs.
value.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I'm going to fool with that.
Okay.
Because I mean, what you said makes sense, and
Yeah.
I don't care that much about how beat up it is.
Great. That's what I like to hear.
But it's just, I also think that for the people that look at this, the GearWire site,
Yeah.
I think that there might be people who are interested, and I think that the
Absolutely.
different types of, what you just said is really important, the different types of how the guitar is finished, and it might actually impact what you buy new.
Absolutely, and it's always a good idea to take everything into consideration when you're buying something, because here's the thing: is it's going to need to be repaired one way or another. You're going to have to get it fixed at some point.